Story 1. Neighbors entrusted me to look after their pets and house, but haven't come back for a year. In June 2019, my neighbors came to my door. I had some experiences with them. They invited us for a barbecue not long after they moved in. They asked me and my wife if we would look after their pets and their house for the next 3 weeks, as they needed to return to Taiwan as his mother was expiring. They even left me $500 for food for their 2 German shepherds and their cat. I don't know what happened to them, but they just never came back. I don't know if they ended up in some sort of prison or decided to just not come home at all. Today I found out their basement had flooded, probably sometime within the last week. Apparently a pipe burst, but the entire basement is completely fracked. I paid to have the leak fixed, and I spent all of today using my shop vac to drain the basement to the best of my abilities. Between this and one of their dogs needing surgery, I've spent thousands of dollars of my own money, and frankly, the damage to the basement was pretty awful. I don't have their insurance paperwork and don't really know if I can even make a claim for them. On top of this, his 2 German shepherds, while they're amazingly good boys, it's becoming almost too much for us to handle. Their last name is extremely common, and their Facebook profiles are private, which gives me very little avenue to tackle this down. Timeline: June 7, 2019. Neighbors asked me if I would look after their pets and their house while they were handling the passing away of their mother back in Taiwan. Tells me 3 weeks at latest. June 1st, 2019. Neighbors sent me an email saying they needed some additional time to handle his father's affairs. He apologized and said he would be back by July 15 at latest. July 21st, 2019. Sent him an email asking what was going on. Explained how we were going on vacation in August. Never got a response. July 31st, 2019. Tried calling him on his cell phone. It was no longer in service. August 14th, 2019. Went on vacation. Had my brother look after all 4 dogs for the next week. September 2nd, 2019. Emailed him again. No response. September 3rd, 2019. Tried to reach him and his wife via Facebook using the private message feature. September 6th, 2019. Ended up moving his 2 dogs and 1 cat into our house as they seemed extremely miserable. I ended up disassembling part of our adjoined fence to allow his dogs to use their outdoor area. November 19th, 2019. One of his dogs started showing signs of being ill. Bringing him to the vet, turns out he is suffering from a medium severity case of IBDD. He ended up requiring surgery, which we paid for. January 21st, 2020. I sent another email and never got a response. Today, when I was bringing his mail into the house, I noticed it smelled pretty awful, and I quickly discovered his basement had about a foot of water in it. Questions. What exactly is my level of responsibility in this? I agreed to look after it for a few weeks or a couple of months at the most. It's been almost a year now. Is there anything I can do? Location, Ontario, Canada. Sorry, some other points. I'm assuming they have some sort of auto payment for bills set up because they still have hydro and cable and internet. I'm unsure of where exactly the husband worked. I know he said he was an engineer, but I can't find his profile, so I don't know what company. Their last name is a very common name, common like Wong, which gives me tons of Facebook results. I don't know. Again, this is one for those people in the comments that have insurance or have legal expertise. I mean, with everything done, taking care of this house, what is the recourse? I just don't know. Does he own the house now? Are they just going to come back and just not pay them back for anything that's going on? Are they in trouble? Are they being jerks, or are they just really in a lot of deep trouble for this, the people that are in Taiwan? I really don't know. It's kind of hard to say. This was 2020. There has to have been a follow-up on this story. I hope someone finds it. Story 2. The Karen of my building told me her key card isn't working. Demanded I fix her key card. So I did. This happened to me maybe 5 minutes ago, and I think it's hilarious. I'm the facility manager for my building. Everything that happens and goes wrong is my responsibility. So I make sure everything runs smoothly. My boss had made it clear. It's my building, and I was hired to not only keep people in line, but run everything. I am not a jerk, but I hold people accountable. Forcibly, but politely. There was no facility manager for a long time before I came along, and both clients and employees ran amok with no order. In the 4 months I've been here, My boss has praised my performance and has gone to bat for me countless times. She's the best boss I've ever had. I've got a firm but fair approach, and my reputation reflects that. I've got Karen in the building, and trust me, the name stereotype applies. Who's just a counselor for family services, has nothing to do with our group. She likes to complain about everything and gives my boss a headache almost daily. She shares an office with another woman, who's unfortunately picking up on her Karen tendencies. Karen in training. I've been doing a key card audit all week, and I knew to leave Karen's key card alone because she's the only Karen in the building, so her name stands out. I'm missing 75 key cards. Lots of former employees having all-door access, dating all the way back to 2015. Can't have that, so I deleted a lot of them, especially if it had a wacky name or just a room number. However, I did delete Karen in Training's card information because it wasn't under her name. She just came to tell me her key card wasn't working, and Karen happened to be passing by and overheard it. I went and fixed Karen in Training's key card, and we went to check to see if it worked or not. We found Karen outside the office waiting, complaining to my boss that her key card didn't work either. Karen wandered away, and my boss rolled her eyes, and I smiled, and I told her I would take care of it. After checking to make sure Karen in Training's key card worked, I went downstairs to check the system, looked up Karen, and wouldn't you know it, her key card was completely fine. In fact, it showed she had a master key card. So I changed all of her permissions and limited her back to just her room only. I went upstairs and got my boss's attention because her office is next door to the ladies, and I mouthed, "Listen," and pointed. I opened their door and was all, "Hey, Karen, I went and checked your key card in the system. Everything is good to go. In fact, it said you had a master key to the building, and per the company orders, since you're not a contractor or a company employee, I can't give you that access. So I had to revoke your status to just this room only. Can't have you bugging people on official business. Wink. Thanks for bringing your key card to my attention." She started to object that she needed the MasterCard because XYZ, and I was all, "Yes, sorry, maybe before, but I'm the facility manager and you don't need access to everything except this office. And if you do, it's outside your pay grade, so you'll have to come get me. Okay? Cool, thanks, bye." And then just closed the door on her mid-sentence. My boss was quietly laughing her butt off in her office and gave me an air high five. To be clear, I'm not talking down about my coworkers. They're fantastic people. No, I'm not a suck-up. They work in education and bend over backwards to help students and customers get the information and help they need. The building mostly got shut down and neglected, and customers got lazy due to the C word. We offer free classrooms to those who need it, including a computer lab, by reservation first-come, first-served basis. And the problem we ran into was that the previous facility manager passed away suddenly, and the replacement was temporary. Coupled with the C word, and this was our problem. My coworkers weren't able to enforce rules and regulations, and rooms were left destroyed and neglected, keys stolen, etc. Since my arrival, I've enforced the rules and allowed the staff to resume their normal duties, without having to clean up after and babysit customers. Karen isn't staff, she's just renting an office. She has no business having access to our materials, supply, or workspaces, especially when they're handling students' private information. Absolutely. I think there was just something wrong with that, and she is just upset that she no longer has the access she has. And I think you have to keep an eye on her. If she had all this access and was complaining that she doesn't anymore, what's she been doing? It might have to take a little bit more scrutiny to make sure that she's on the up and up. Story 3. Entitled parents angry I won't babysit 5 out of 7 days of the week. My, female 19, brother and sister-in-law, both 32, moved back into my parents' home last week. They have 4 kids, 1, 3, 4, and 6. So of course, what was a peaceful house has turned into a chaotic mess, like a literal pigsty. Friday, my brother asked me what my day-to-day schedule was so they can get an idea of how babysitting would work. Obviously, I went, "What the hell?" because I never agreed to babysit for anyone. I sat there dumbfounded and asked him to elaborate. Apparently, my dad offered to help them with childcare by using me, despite me having classes to attend both in person and online. Plus, I work part-time, and no one cared to check with me to see if it was okay. I flat out said no. I was not babysitting Monday through Friday, and they would have to find some other solution. This upsets sister-in-law, and she starts complaining that I act like I don't love my nieces and nephews because I'm not willing to help them out and take care of them. Again, what the hell? My dad started complaining and told my mom to make me agree. I just got up and finished my dinner in my room because I was not about to deal with their guilt-tripping me. Later, my brother approached me, showed me what was basically a weekly schedule that had the hours they worked and the hours I was expected to look after the kids, all four because the 6-year-old is homeschooling at the moment. To spare the rest of the boring details, I would only be on duty from 6 a.m. till 1 p.m. and then again from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. because they wanted special time. Again, I shut that stuff down and told him they were completely out of luck because I wasn't doing it. Cue sister-in-law telling my dad I still won't do it, so he came in and started calling me selfish and lazy and said I'd have to come around eventually since they'll be living here for a while. Let me add, my dad doesn't even work. My mom does. He sits on his butt all day watching TV, and when she gets home, he doesn't even speak to her until he wants to know what's for dinner. Yeah, let this dad follow that schedule, not you. You're sitting there, you are working in addition to taking classes. Exactly. This father wants to contribute? Let him babysit. Even though that might not be a good idea if all he does is just sit around and watch TV himself. Maybe just telling him, you take care of it and you learn a little responsibility. I don't know, it might get you kicked out of the house, but yeah, totally unfair. Story 4. My ex-girlfriend denied me of entry on my own condo unit. Me and my girlfriend rushed into moving together. After 2 weeks of living together, we realized it wasn't going to work. She agreed to move out by the end of February. Then COVID happened, and now she refuses to leave. I have 1 bedroom in my apartment, and I am tired of sleeping on my couch. Lately, she has started denying me entry into my own unit. She uses the deadbolt on the inside and pretends to not hear me. Last night, when I came home around 11 p.m., I discovered I couldn't get into my apartment as she had bolted it. After pounding and calling after an hour, she started screaming at me to go away. I ended up calling the police, who after talking to her briefly, told me to go find somewhere else to stay for the night and said I needed to leave. I slept all of last night in my car. This morning, after she left for work, I removed the deadbolt from my door. I also discovered a complete and utter stranger sleeping in my living room, along with another girl passed out in my bed. After I kicked them out, my ex came home and told me I have no rights to kick out her guests. She called the police, and the officer said it was a civil issue. By this time, her guests had already left. Tonight, I have a late shift again, and I guarantee you the same thing is going to happen. What am I supposed to do? What kind of lawyer do I need? Can someone help me? I live in Toronto, Ontario. Condo is 100% owned by me. She has never paid anything here. Get everything you can, and I don't know what kind of lawyer you need. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but you need to find one soon. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments would have a lot to say about what kind of lawyer you would need. And this policeman just wants peace. They are not diving into the issue at all. That really sucks, getting kicked out of a place that you own completely, and this person just was able to make that happen. That's completely awful. I really hope this person can get their property back. Story 5. So you want me to fire everyone at the Christmas party? Okay then. Many years ago, early 1980s, I worked for a company that did what I called mall violating. They did market research surveys in a mall and were always stopping people to ask questions, etc. The company was run by 3 older women who had started it in their kitchen. They were opinionated and had no care about anything but money. Part of this included paying employees not by the hour, but by the survey, which was against labor rules as it never matched the basic hourly wage. This is important. Christmas came and we were planning our employee party when one of the owners called and told us that in order to avoid paying bonuses, we were to fire everyone at the party and then hire back the ones that we liked after the new year. We, the other managers and I, talked about it, and then I called the Federal Bureau of Labor, who had been trying to get the information for the employee pay for several years, but had always been turned away. I had them come to the back door and let them in the file room, and showed them the boxes. I then said I had things to do in the front and would be back later, and went to the front desk to finish the paperwork. Said paperwork? A blow-up of Santa going down the chimney with Merry Fracking Christmas typed across it. All of the management resignations, and the FedEx employee who would hold our keys and said paperwork. Labor guy finished what he needed to do. We locked up, sent the package, which was timed to arrive at their Christmas party, and walked away. The company ended up spending about $250,000 in reimbursements and fines for the labor problem. Good. How long were they working at this company, though? Was it a situation where you just had nowhere else to go and this was what was paying for the food on your table? But I guess this was the push that came to the shove back on this. And amazing that they were able to pull this off. Apparently, these women were so hands-off on this thing that they could do all this stuff with the labor guy without them even knowing about it. So, guess back to the drawing board, I guess, and back to the kitchen to get up the new business idea. Maybe they'll go with an MLM this time.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.